You are listening to Julia's Trucking Cafe News Hour. Hello and welcome to Julia's Trucking Cafe Trucking News Hour. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're having a very good weekend, and I hope everyone had a really good Memorial Day weekend. Like always, I have lots of news to get to, so let's get right to it. FMCSA is handing out 800,000 free masks to truckers, and learn how you can get one. Federal authorities are handing out hundreds of thousands of masks to truckers across the U.S. The FMCSA has announced that it will coordinate the distribution of 800,000 free masks for drivers at dozens of locations across the country. The Department of Homeland Security, DHS, Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and Department of Transportation, DOT, will be assisting in the mass distribution operation. FMCSA is currently delivering the masks and plans to distribute them to drivers over the next few days. This happened the end of April, 1st of May. There again, I'm always playing catch up. And different areas that you could get them in: Arkansas, California, Georgia inspection stations, Illinois, Indiana, Nebraska, New York, Texas. The move to distribute the mask comes from the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association, OOIDA, that wrote to President Trump earlier in April that I reported on, asking the government to provide PPE or personal protective equipment for truck drivers who are considered essential workers at the front lines of the fight against coronavirus. Similarly, the trucking trade group Small Business and Transportation Coalition, or SBTC, called on Trump to provide truckers with PPE in an April 22nd letter. Quote from the article, truckers are traveling around the country without access to masks, gloves, and hand sanitizer. When an operational budget of $665 million for fiscal year 2019, surely the FMCSA has funding available in its budget to make this a reality in accordance with the National Transportation Policy to keep the supply chain intact. Since the virus outbreak began, a growing number of locations require all people who are out in public to wear a mask. In some areas, those who don't comply can be denied services, fined, or even jailed. I'm not going to comment on the, jailing part, but anyway. And in our next story is truckers say that they're facing another pandemic, cheap rates from brokers. As truckers have been working harder than ever to keep the nation moving during this coronavirus crisis, many said that they're also having to fight back against plummeting rates from freight brokers. I have several friends that are saying that the freight rates just tanked. Pennies on the dollar to haul freight. The brokers are taking extreme advantage of this crisis. Things have looked bleak for many truckers during the month of April, as non-essential businesses across the country closed up. Oil prices fell dramatically, and consumer demand cooled following a flurry of buying during the early days of this crisis, let's call it. I love it because in Missouri, I could get diesel for under $2 a gallon. But you come to Ohio and Pennsylvania, it's still $2.50, $2.60 a gallon. According to DAT Solutions, rates hit a 4-year low of $1.48 per mile nationally. From the article, truckload rates fell lower again for dry van equipment, and there's no clear sign of when they might rebound. It could be a couple more weeks for rate trends to flatten out. There's no good news for truckers this week, although some markets and lanes are less terrible than others, end quote. DAT Solutions, they wrote that in a blog post April 22nd. I run a reefer and I run food. I have been working my tail off to deliver freight to everybody. And in our top story, Drivers share their top 8 concerns about trucking during this crisis. Trying not to put my personal feelings into this video. Also on the website, on the homepage of the website at juliastruckcafe.com, there will be a link to my personal discussion board where you can add what your top concern is about working through this crisis. A recent survey of professional truck drivers ranked their top concerns about driving during this crisis. Workhound, which I've never heard of, a company that specializes in improving driver retention by helping companies collect driver feedback, recently released a report that analyzed driver comments about COVID-19 that were submitted during the first 2 weeks of April. They say that driver concerns in April have significantly shifted from those shared in March. Quote, while sanitation and planning were the standout themes throughout March, pay and morale have grown to become the top theme so far in April. Here are the top 8, and I'll go from 8 all the way down to number 1. 8 was benefits, 7 necessities, 6 was work, 5 is planning, 4 is risk, 3 is sanitation, 2 is morale, and 1 is pay. Now let's go back. Now number 8, the benefits. Okay. They expressed concern over driver employment benefits such as health insurance, sick days, and suspension of 401k matching during COVID-19. Yeah, I can understand the health insurance, but the sick days and the suspension of the 401k, that doesn't really have anything, I don't know, does it have anything to do with, driving? I don't think so. Necessities. Comments dealt with concern over access to food and drink as this crisis forced the closure of dine-in restaurants across the country. Number 7. If you listened to my show, you would have been prepared with My Patriot Supply. Just saying. Prepare yourself with extra food. I have no problem getting food. I have groceries in my truck. So you live on sandwiches for a while. Hey, lose that driver gut that we all get when we've been out here for too long, I don't know. I'm sorry. They're crying about getting food. I don't have no problem getting food. And there's plenty of restaurants that have takeout. So you can't sit your butt down in a restaurant to eat. Okay? You improvise. I went through Katrina. I'm sorry. I'm going to rant a little bit. I went through Katrina. I had to wash clothes in a cooler. I ate 2 coolers. One for washing and one for rinsing and hanging the clothes out on the dog line. What do you do when you go camping? You cook outside. So cook in your truck. It's not that big of a deal. I'm like, I don't understand people. I'm sorry. Improvise. You have to learn how to improvise out here. Anyway, number 6, work. They say they're worried about slow freight and that they have a tough time finding loads. Okay, that should be close to the top 5. And planning. Comments indicated that drivers were concerned about how to plan for new challenges. Have a mask, have your gloves, a little bottle of hand sanitizer, this big, no joke. $6, but I don't even use it. So, number 4, risk. They said they were worried about exposing themselves or family members to the virus by picking up or delivering to various hotspots. I have, they made me stay in my truck. They wouldn't let me come inside the building, so I wasn't prone to be around anybody. I'm sorry, I'm not a social butterfly. I'm a loner. That's why I apologize all the time on these videos, because putting myself out there is really huge for me. I don't talk to people. I stay in my truck and I quarantine myself in my truck. You have to learn, and I understand that not everybody's like that. Not everybody is, a loner. But for me being a loner, hey, it works out perfect during this coronavirus. Now sanitation. 19% of the comments address the worry over driver access to hand washing facilities and sanitation supplies like cleaning supplies and hand sanitizer. Months ago, I bought a humongous container of wipes. I still have them. They're off-brand, but I still have them. You always have to plan ahead. Morale. 21% of the comments involved driver morale. Many drivers expressed pride at being able to keep the U.S. supply chain moving, while others said that the virus had given them a more negative outlook on trucking and increased their sense of isolation, or again, being a loner. I still love it. Like, I got flipped off on Friday, okay? I'm recording this on Sunday. And I got flipped off by a gal who was a passenger in a pickup truck coming across Interstate 76 in Pennsylvania. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what, woman? I'll remind you of that when you're filling your face with pizza that I normally deliver. And if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have anything to eat. Okay? So think about that next time you want to flip somebody off, especially a truck driver. Because as we all know, and for those of you who watch me and listen to me that aren't truck drivers, as we all know, that if it wasn't for us drivers, nobody would have nothing. Because everything that you own was brought by a truck at one point in time. And finally, pay. 26% of comments issued, their issue was the top of mind for drivers was during this crisis, was many drivers said they did not feel that they were being adequately compensated for the risks that they were taking during the pandemic. It's called trucking. You do it because you want to help people. Instead of getting paid for every little thing. You wouldn't believe the things I've done. Sweeping out trailers, I don't get paid for that. Layover pay. Should. Also, as far as waiting to get loaded, like now I have a 3-day weekend. I'm not getting paid layover pay for this. Because I have to pick up Friday, got to deliver Monday. It's called taking a 34-hour break. Suck it up, buttercups. Really. Where's your sense of helping your fellow person out? Is what I don't understand with this kind of a poll. But anyway, like I mentioned, if you would like to leave your comments and concerns, please do so. I have a link to it on the homepage on my website. Now, in other news, a trucker is accused of refusing to pay a $20,000 toll bill, and he could be sentenced up to 9 years in prison. Now, I will tell you, this toll bill is pretty outrageous. A Colorado-based trucker is facing multiple felony charges relating to a towing act incident that occurred in Wisconsin, and this happened last year. Authorities in Wisconsin have charged a 35-year-old truck driver with retail theft, felony damage to property, and trespassing. The charges stem from an incident that happened back in November 17th of 2019. The driver told police that he was eastbound on Interstate 94 at mile marker 145 when he was cut off by another vehicle and ran off the roadway into a swampy area. CL Chase Towing was called in to help recover the truck. Mr. Chase from the towing company said that they would have to come back the next day because it would take 3 heavy wreckers, a service truck, and 2 extra personnel to remove the truck from the ditch. Well, if he was going too doggone fast and somebody clipped him off, and instead of running the guy over, he went into the swamp instead. Sorry, it kind of turned, served them right, is what I'm trying to spit out. Because you need to slow your ass down then. Sorry. So on November 18th, they returned to tow the truck back to their company and parked it on the lot next to a heavy flatbed wrecker. The driver was presented with a toll bill of $20,400, which he disagreed with, saying it was way too much. He called his boss in North Carolina and explained that the towing company wanted a comm check to pay the toll bill. The boss reportedly offered to send a wire transfer instead, but Chase refused this method of payment because they were worried that the transfer would be reversed. During the overnight hours between November 18th and 19th, the driver took his truck from CL Chase's lot. On the morning of the 19th, Chase called police and told them that someone had brought a heavy wrecker to their lot and removed the truck overnight, and that in the process, that person damaged a Chevy Silverado pickup truck, a Chevy Malibu, a dump trailer, and lawn, driveway, and trees on the property. Chase also told police that no one had paid the tow bill for the truck. Total cost of the tow bill plus the damages now rose up to $30,950. When the driver later spoke with police, when they asked him about it, he admitted to taking the truck off of the property, but said that he did not use a heavy wrecker to remove it and that he did not strike any other vehicles or trees. The driver also told police that the wire transfer was available to Chase, but they never accepted it. Chase says that they still haven't been paid for the tow job. The driver is scheduled to appear in court on October 5th. If he is convicted, he could face up to 9 years, 6 months in prison and fines up to $20,000. So let's see, it goes from a $20,000 wrecker bill to pull him out because it was going too fast, all the way up to $30,000 for damages and another $20,000 piled on top of that for fines and court costs. So you're looking at $50,000, over $50,000, about $51,000, all for going too fast. So if that doesn't teach you a lesson to slow down, what will? And Arizona, in other news, is set to spend nearly $4 million to help truck drivers find safe parking. The Arizona Department of Transportation is moving fast in a new project to increase truck parking along Interstate 40. April 29th, Arizona DOT announced that they had fast-tracked the project to add 38 truck parking spaces to the Haviland Rest Area located on I-40 west of Kingman. The project will add 22 truck parking spaces to the existing 7 spaces at the eastbound rest area and 16 spaces to the existing 7 spaces at the westbound rest area. The Arizona DOT says that it'll be about a $4 million project that's been deemed an emergency due to the crisis. Crews will start work on the project next week and finish by July. Sorry, by then the crisis may even be over with, but they still need the parking. From the article, quote, "This project helps everyone get safely home by making it easier for long-haul truck drivers to get the rest they need while they support our communities." And an ELD manufacturer is going out of business. They decided to call it quits. Doesn't that look like a fish finder? It really looks like a fish finder to me. I fish, but it looks like a fish finder. Users of a popular ELD have just a few months to find a new provider from the company that says they'll discontinue the service. Road Log ELD, I've never heard of them, recently announced that they will stop selling their ELD device and provide services over the course of the summer. The company wrote, I quote from the article, "Unfortunately, due to unforeseen market conditions and dynamic requirements of the ELD business, we have made the difficult decision to discontinue the Road Log product line, effective the 1st of May. Continental will no longer sell Road Log ELD devices or new subscriptions to the Road Log Office service for the following 4 months ending in August 14th, 2020. Continental will continue to provide existing Road Log customers with access to the Road Log Office services and with technical support related to their devices and services. During this time, we will also work to assist customers in their transition to an alternative ELD and fleet management system effective August 14th. The Road Log Office services will then be terminated." Road Log says that they will contact users with detailed instructions on how to download data for compliance purposes. The company says that this must be completed prior to August 14th. My personal opinion, if you have one of these Road Log ELDs, I really like the Keep Truckin' app that you can use on your phone or tablet. Also, that has a box that you order for the kind of truck that you have. And that has a pigtail that plugs into your black box of your truck that's underneath, on a Kenworth, that's underneath your dash where they plug in the computer to run all the diagnostic checks and everything on your truck. So you plug that in there, and they give you instructions and everything how to use it. You can either put it on top of your dash or underneath your dash. And I really love it. It looks just like a paper log. I've used Keep Trucking app, and I really like it. And I'm not getting, any kind of compensation or anything for saying that. It's just my personal preference. So now it's time to take a short break. As truck drivers, we all know what it's like to be at a shipper's or receiver's and have to wait to be loaded for hours on end. Am I right? Especially produce coolers and paper mills. That's why you need to be prepared with extra food in your truck. My Patriot Supply helps you stay prepared. Now, it's not what you may be thinking. My Patriot Supply is